everybody, so if you can't tell already, I think I'm about to get a cold, so I'm going to record this video tonight rather than waiting to do it, and I do apologize, but if I don't do it now, I don't think I'll be able to do it for the next couple of days. So recently, Bill Nye, best known for the children's television show Bill Nye the Science Guy that ran in the early 1990s on US Airways, has come back into the attention of the public. Between his adamant support of man-made climate change, to his participation in the recent Science March that was so pointless and droll that I cannot even be bothered to talk about it. For, as a scientist myself, I found it to be more of an affront to my intelligence than the Women's March was an affront to my tits. And now, most recently, for his new Netflix show, humbly titled Bill Nye Saves the World. I mean, damn, could you possibly come up with a more paramasturbatory title? Hey, I mean really, could you suck your own dick just a little bit harder with the title there, Bill? I mean, it's not like I go around calling myself a paladin or anything. I mean, geez. Anyway, the show has come under a lot of fire for being, well, social justice anti-science propaganda, and let me tell you friends, at least a bit to my chagrin, that is precisely what it is, to the point where it reads as satire. I'm not kidding. Watch the show if you can stomach it. Perhaps take a hit or hit the bottle beforehand if you've got a weak heart or a weak stomach, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Or don't, and just keep watching this video so that I can suffer through it for you. Bill Nye Saves the World is irrefutable evidence of the existence of Poe's Law, as if it doesn't have an excess of support already. It is almost impossible at points to be able to determine if what you are watching is parody or not. Yes, it is that bad. And to me, someone who grew up with Bill Nye, to say that that is a disappointment is a bit of an understatement, because while I was not a huge fan, there are many people in my generation who are huge fans, and will take everything that this man says or puts his name on as truth, because he taught them some of the basic scientific principles as children, and that, friends, is the only reason I really think it's important we talk about Bill Nye, science fetishization, and the absurdity of this show. Because there are people out there who will watch this and take everything being said as fact without thought or question because a guy in a lab coat and a bow tie is saying it. Oh, and Dr. Milgram, we will get to you. So this is probably a good place for me to talk about my personal experiences with Bill Nye and my childhood interest in science. Like most people in my generation who now think that giving a facey space thumbs up to an I fucking love science post makes them an honorary doctoral scholar, I grew up with Bill Nye's children's television program. In fact, if you go back about 4 or 5 years, you could probably find an impassioned email I sent to Netflix begging them to purchase the rights to said show and put it up along with Magic School Bus on their streaming service, which they actually did do several years later. But Nye was not the main reason I became interested in science. No, 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 no. I must name a different Jew for that. Namely, Leonard Nimoy. Unlike pretty much everyone else who grew up in the 90s, my first Star Trek was not The Next Generation, not Deep Space Nine, nor Voyager. No, I was obsessed with the 1967 original series of Star Trek, and I still love it as my favorite science fiction television show as all time, and some of my favorite films of all time. Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home, of which I have a vintage poster currently hanging directly to my right, for example.
Your use of language has altered since our arrival. It is currently laced with, shall I say, more colorful metaphors. Double dumbass on you, and so forth.
You mean the profanity?
Yes.
That's simply the way they talk here. Nobody pays any attention to you unless you swear every other word.
When I was getting bullied as a kid, Star Trek was my emotional safe space, I suppose you could call it. And I wanted to be a scientist because of Star Trek. I wanted to be Spock as a little girl, essentially. Now, sadly, I had a bunch of really awful math teachers growing up, and I became convinced that I could not into math, and in late high school, despite my love of astrophysics and my paltry attempt at self-education, I resigned myself to some other fate, specifically to art and advertising work. And you know, I went to college, and I had some great teachers in college who introduced me to the soft sciences. And through that, I found a science that not only could I do, but I was actually pretty great at: statistics. And hey guys, I gotta defend what I do as technically scientific, and let me explain. All of my work is in the field of quantitative empirical postpositivism. Hey, didn't that description alone sound scientific as heck? It means this. Let me break it down. Quantitative refers mostly to methodology, in that all of my work and work in my area of social science is based on quantifiable measures, so things I can count and run statistical analyses on. Empirical simply means observable. And by the way, if someone claiming to be a scientist calls themselves merely an empiricist, you should slap them across the face, because empiricism is a preclusion to hard science. Finally, post-positivism essentially means falsifiability, in that post-positivists require their hypotheses to be falsifiable and mutable in the face of additional data. So in short, the research that I do is based on quantifiable information collected and conducted in the face of an observable phenomenon, and with the understanding that the data may not support my hypotheses and may be overruled in the future as additional data are analyzed. Regardless of your opinions on social science, I do think, based on what I've just said, I hope, that I should have convinced you just a little bit that what I do is better, more pure science than half of the shit that Bill Nye talks about in his new show. I mean, really, friends, do you understand what a strange conundrum this is for me? To basically come to terms with the fact that as a fucking social scientist, I am a better actual scientist than one of my childhood scientific influences. Yeah, it's a bit of a weird feeling. On one level, I don't want to admit it, but on the other hand, Bill, if what you're going to sell as science is this, yeah. I think that as a woman, in the hilarity that is the social sciences as a whole, knowing that I'm Anna Kasparian tier better than you as a scientist is a bit astounding, at least to me. I know I talk a lot about research, and that's kind of at least half the point of my channel, is I try to talk about social science, how it relates to everyday life and news. So I guess I like to think I'm providing a very soft sort of edutainment, as did Bill Nye in the 90s. Although I certainly let my opinions fly loud and clear. But this whole show, this whole phenomena of the superficial worship of the idea of science, not the reality, or the work, or the effort that is involved, and it's a great deal of effort that's involved, in conducting scientific research, is another reason that this entire thing regarding Nye Saves the World has me making this video. So let's talk about science fetishization. I am far from the first, and I will be far from the last, to criticize this I fucking love science pseudo-intellectual rigmarole. I despise it because of how farcical and superficial it is. You know, I feel a lot of us are shocked at how the cultural gestalt has seemingly flipped over the last 8 years under the king of racial division, oh bummer. But 8 years ago, yeah, it was cool to fight religion with science and facts. That is precisely how the YouTube skeptic community got its feet, debunking falsehoods and debating the religious right. Coming in tandem with the popularity of shows like The Big Bang Theory that idealized science and the idea of nerdiness without explication of the science itself, it's no real wonder we have an entire generation of millennials who think it's cool to be interested in science without, you know, actually being interested in science. Just go to a totally unrelated site like Etsy, and you will see millions of periodic table themed pieces of jewelry and merchandise and such. It pretty much became a meme to just pretend to be into science because here's the shtick: people who obsessively worship pop culture scientists like Bill Nye and Neil deGrasse Tyson and then rapidly click like on some I fucking love science links that's nothing but pictures of space or nature or something. They don't fucking love science. They fucking love to show off how educated they are while being hopelessly ignorant of anything actually scientific. Do you want to know what it means to fucking love science? Watch this. This data output here. The first time I saw this is when I knew I would never want to do anything else for the rest of my life beyond being a social scientist. These are the initial data that Ian Balance in 2007 collected that served as evidence for something called the Proteus effect. This data blew my fucking mind. And do you want to know what it means? It means that short people got no reason to live. It means that short people always get the short end of a deal, even if they're only short in a digital body. Not their physical body, but a digital body. And further data in further research indicated that this effect of inhabiting a digital body affecting interpersonal communication has an astounding scaffolding effect into face-to-face, non-virtual interaction. Holy shit, imagine my shock when I first saw this. Yeah, I know you can't imagine it because it's ridiculous, see? See that? See me spurging out over something that no one outside of my specific field, and maybe game companies like Ubisoft because they pretty much bought Nick Yee out of academe. Yeah, that's called fucking loving science. Clicking like on a video of chemical reactions that produce, like, totally cool colors or whatever is not loving science. It's the intellectual equivalent of virtue signaling. To others, it's just what an intelligent person you are, without having any of the interest, and certainly without having done any of the work. And Bill Nye himself is essentially an embodiment of this phenomena. Many children of the 90s grew up with this man, calling himself the science guy, clad in a white lab coat and a bow tie, standing around beakers and doling out rudimentary science lessons. Is it any wonder, then, that millennials are quick to believe that this is a man with an extensive background in science? Well, here's the kicker, folks. He isn't. He is essentially nothing more than an actor. Bill Nye has a Bachelor's of Science degree in Mechanical Engineering and 3 honorary doctoral degrees, aka bullshit. He has published, as far as I can tell, because he doesn't appear to have a goddamn curriculum vitae, a science resume anywhere, that I can easily find. Oh, wait, here it is. Here's one. Wait a minute. This isn't a CV. This is a fucking resume. Oh, honey, I do not care how many universities gave you honorary degrees. You do not get to write your name that way. Holy fuck! This really activates my almonds. Do you understand that it triggers me when undergrads call me doctor because I have not yet earned that title? Ooh, this right here. This almost makes me more irate than the show itself. Aiden, this is a pet peeve. Let it go. Let it go. Okay. So, beyond children's books, he has published 2 pop science books on the nature of global climate change over the last few years, an issue he is clearly impassioned by. Let me tell you as a quick aside, I'd be willing to have a conversation about global climate change, but even I, as a dang social scientist, know that the issue has too many variables, that I would not trust anyone without vast, extant research on the topic to know really much more than I do. So here's the really weird thing, friends. Are you ready for this? I have, me, Aiden Paladin, hello, I have more advanced degrees, have published more research, and am generally a better scientist than Bill Nye, the freaking bachelor's degree guy. Do I get a PBS show about social psychology now? I swear I'll clean up my dirty fucking sailor mouth for the kids. But isn't that astonishing? I'm pretty much without question a better scientist from every quantifiable measure than Bill Nye, a career science hobbyist. And hey, there is absolutely nothing wrong with being interested in science while lacking any interest in conducting research or getting an advanced degree. I actually think that's a great thing. And trust me, you can laugh till the cows come home at folk like me who are basically statisticians trying to quantify the constant morphogenic nature of the human condition, spending years and often thousands of dollars in school so we can end every single paper with analysis of the data indicate, in this instance, X, but future research may yield Y, every single paper. Social scientists, we have to erase the word prove from our vocabulary on day 1 of graduate school, because no social scientist has ever and will never prove anything. But anyway, that's why I say Nye himself is emblematic of what I would call science fetishization. To fetishize something is to be obsessed with it on a superficial level. And that's essentially what Bill Nye's followers and followers of others like him, like Neil deGrasse Tyson, they are science fetishists. Not even science hobbyists, because hobbies generally require a great deal of emotional and temporal energy expenditure. Nye, regardless of how much I despise the show he's produced, is at least an undeniable science hobbyist. Again, something I believe is commendable and certainly distinct from being a science fetishist. And it's the science fetishists that this nightmare program is designed for. I mentioned in the beginning that I believe this show is potentially dangerous because of how Nye's science fetishist fans are so prone to believe him without question. And there's a few reasons, actual scientific reasons mind you, for that before we get deep into the shit show itself. I have to give you my science lesson of the day, except unlike Bill, I will cite my sources. Okay, so first we have propinquity theory and the mere exposure effect. We are used to seeing Bill. We like Bill. We trust him. That is the basic gestalt of these 2 social psychological effects. The more we see someone, the more we like them and trust them. More accurately, in the realm of mediated communication, this goes further into something called a parasocial relationship. We form parasocial relationships through repeated parasocial interaction with media figures. Ever feel like you know a celebrity? You truly know them? Given the more interactive nature of new media like YouTube in particular, it is very easy to observe naturally occurring parasocial relationships. If you listen to a YouTuber every day and then they retweet you or something, damn, feels like you're that person's friend. Hey, you may even start to feel romantic emotions over a prolonged period of time, and that's what the data on parasocial relationships indicate. It seems to me that a long-term parasocial relationship, particularly one that was formed during childhood, would mean that many children of the 80s and 90s would see Bill Nye as an old friend. There is significant research to back that up as well. Now, that's about as benign as it gets in terms of social science, and hey, I love studying PSRs because I like positive social science research. I like proving positive, helpful things. But there is also a potentially unintended negative effect that Nye activated and continues to activate, which is authority appeal through compliance gaining. In one of the now most infamous pieces of social science research, in 1961, published 63, Stanley Milgram, a social scientist at Yale University, conducted a study for which participants were paid $4. That's approximately 30 buckaroos in today's currency. In this now notorious experiment, the participant was led into a waiting room with a Confederate. A Confederate meaning typically a grad student who is in on the experiment's premise, which in this instance was to study compliance gaining and obedience. Milgram was concerned with how the Nazis were able to convince average German people to commit genocide, and he wanted to know how authority played a role in compliance. As such, after a rigged selection process always designed so that the Confederate would be the questioned and the subject to the questioner, the Confederate was led into another room. The subject was left alone with the researcher in a white lab coat in front of a mechanical apparatus with various switches of increasing voltage, the last being labeled only XXX, and was tasked to ask the Confederate questions and shock them when they answered incorrectly. A lot of you guys have probably heard about this study at this point, yeah? We usually teach it in undergrad. Basically, what Milgram found was that 65% of participants were willing to give what they could have reasonably believed or assumed to be a deadly shock to the Confederate, all while said Confederate screamed and begged for mercy over the intercom.
You're gonna get a shock, 180 volts.
Oh. I can't stand the pain. Let me out of here.
Can't stand it. I'm not gonna kill that man, there. I mean, who's gonna take the responsibility if anything happens to that gentleman?
I'm responsible for anything that happens here. Continue, please.
The only instructions the researcher in the lab coat gave to the subject were these: please continue, and you must continue the experiment. 65% of people murdered someone, or at least believed they did, for $30. And here's why: the lab coat, which is a symbol in Western culture of knowledge and authority. And you know the astounding thing about the initial Milgram experiment is about 5 years later, I forget the exact date, it might have been 10, Milgram got a lot of the original participants back and conducted some qualitative, very post-test research, and found that some of them, after years, were still traumatized from participating in this experiment. It's why we now have something called an IRB, an institutional review board, at every single university in the country to make sure a study like this never ever happens again. Though the point is this, and it's why I went on this tangent, is whether or not he knows it, Bill Nye's lab coat and bow tie are symbols of social authority. People will believe him and do what he says because of his simple choice of clothing. Oh, don't get me started on attire appropriateness in the social sciences, it's kind of my thing. I know that sounds like the lamest thing ever, but it's actually really interesting and a massively under-researched area of study. And Aiden, get to the point! The point is, people will believe Bill Nye for one of the reasons I just mentioned. And that's dangerous because what he's selling is pure insanity. You have to understand, friends, just how insane this program is. I started marathoning it after one of the segments that I saw online, and one of the segments I'm going to cover today. I honestly believed that it was satire created by a far-right-leaning conservative to mock social justice, anti-science thinking. How weird is that? That conservatives are now the ones on the side of science, when the entire left's argument against us is that we're irrational. Anyway, let me be clear. Here are some of the things that this show touts. Things like 3 or more genders or fat acceptance. They're not just bad science, they're anti-science. This show actively spreads false and misinformation. There is such a preponderance of it in every single episode that I'm seriously considering doing a series of videos on it, and may very well do just that if people seem to be into it. For the last time, I'm no hard scientist, but as I said, I appear to be a better researcher just based on experience alone than old Bill, so I think I could wreck pretty much every claim that he makes across this series. For the sake of time, both yours and mine, and more importantly for my sanity, I'm going to just start by looking at 2 of the now infamous clips, which are both related to sexuality, and as such, they work well to be assessed in tandem. So, let's get into the thick of it, shall we? And we'll start with the clip that I honestly believed was satire, rather than that sex junk bit that many of you have probably already seen.
Of course, enlightened and forward-thinking, but not everyone sees it this way. But there are lots of flavors to sexuality.
Holy fuck, I have to stop it already. We are so enlightened and forward-thinking. This is actual Marxist intellectual propaganda. You know, it actually is. I would have given him the benefit of the doubt for being ignorant about the Milgram experiment and authority appeals when it came to the lab coat. But this is beyond egregious. This is saying, we are right, we are unquestionably right, and any who does question us is a troglodytic subhuman. Odin give me strength, this is not starting out on a good foot.
Right, why are we here, Vanilla?
Damn!
Oh, this again? Come on!
Chillax, Strobs!
Settle, everybody. Settle.
This is actually one of the reasons I thought this was satire at first, considering how Strawberry immediately becomes despondent and triggered by a sign. I mean, I thought they hated being portrayed as irrational nutjobs with skin thinner than paper.
Now, I've spoken to some of you about my theories on the nature of being ice cream.
Which have no basis in science?
It's the science of feelings. And as Vanilla, I feel that I am the most natural of the ice cream.
Oh my sweet fuck. These people are saying that the right are the ones dealing in the science of feelings, when that is the entire premise of this damn cartoon. Guys, I am 30 seconds in. I don't know if I can do this. God damn it.
And therefore the rest of you should just go ahead and also be vanilla.
Oh!
It's the one true flavor.
No! Don't make me stop being strawberry delicious!
Oh, Christ. Look, no one can make you stop being strawberry. You're strawberry!
Hold me, salted caramel!
See, the funny thing about this is, and yes, I've already seen this one, so I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit, Vanilla says his feelings mean everyone else should also be vanilla. But by the end, Vanilla is convinced to be anything but vanilla, based entirely on feelings. Like I said, this plays like it was written by a poll user.
I just think if you want to get right with the big ice cream in the sky, change your flavor by wishing to be vanilla.
What if the big ice cream in the sky is chocolate?
Blasphemy.
Hey, as far as I know, the vast majority of people aren't trying to stop gays from being gay. A small minority, absolutely. But I do want to point out that Mike, you like the cock, you get the shock pence, was never even really proposing to force gays to get conversion therapy, but rather to provide it as an option for gay people who for some reason wanted to try to change their sexuality. Something, as I've said before, the research does not support, and something that I do have a great issue with when it comes to parents forcing their children into it. But conversion therapy is hilariously what this video ultimately proposes for vanilla, i.e. straight people. Oh, the irony is not lost on me, Bill. No, not at all. People with an understanding of human sexuality and psychology understand that homosexuality occurs naturally across the animal kingdom, and there may even be some evolutionary reasons behind it. I don't want gays to stop being gay. I'm a half gay, alright? Most women are on some level. I just don't want people to be forced to bake a cake if they are a business owner. If they choose to deny the business, ultimately, they're the ones taking the loss. And if that's their prerogative, and that's what they, as private business owners, should be able to do. Sorry, getting off track, let's keep going.
Everyone should pretend to be vanilla until they no longer have the urge not to be vanilla.
This is such a huge straw man. I mean, sure, yes, there are some Christians who probably believe that gays should pretend to be straight, or become straight, whatever. But what kind of minority are you looking at here? Do you know the Muslim version of conversion therapy, Bill? At least in Iran? Oh, it's just to mutilate your genitals and make you into a woman, which astoundingly I have seen leftists praise as progressive. Despite the fact, if you, say, choose not to have your genitals mutilated, as a gay man, you're put to death. Yet why is there always this sort of Christian bent behind this type of propaganda? Oh, because they're an easy straw man for shit that doesn't exist? Yeah, thanks.
I did not urge to be pistachio. I am pistachio. Hey, mint chocolate chip.
Sorry I'm late. I was busy being two awesome things at once.
Cool.
This right here, this is pure propaganda. Vanilla, aka being straight, is boring and lame. Meanwhile, being mint chocolate chip, by the way, one of the 3 best ice cream flavors, the others being pistachio and green tea, I'm on the green ice cream train, fight me, is 2 awesome things at once. Oh, isn't that neat? Is this a bisexuality reference? Because maybe you should take a looky-loo into gay communities and see how reviled bisexuals often are for not really being gay or lesbian enough. Yeah, talking from some personal experience here. This is bullshit.
Come on, vanilla. Nobody wants just one flavor of ice cream.
I do.
Yes, they do. Some people just like one flavor of ice cream. And you know what? That's okay. Is this seriously straight shaming? Is that what you're doing here?
Haven't you ever wanted to be in a Neapolitan?
I can't.
Come on, it's natural. All natural cocoa.
And strawberry fresh from the field.
It's so creamy and delicious.
Big ice cream in the sky, help me. It's good.
This narrative that all straight people are secretly gay is pants on head retarded. It's at least as pants on head retarded as all gay people are secretly straight. Sexuality actually has a spectrum, okay? Some people are more or less gay, and many have different sexual preferences. But guess what? The majority of people are pretty much straight. Why does it have to be shameful? Why? Again, this just starts as a rant against conversion therapy, but here at the end, the evil, intolerant vanilla is being forcefully converted into being something other than vanilla. And now prepare for the onslaught of degeneracy, and the rest is just an ice cream orgy. Ugh, I'm fucking done. Like I said, folks, This was so absurd. I thought for sure it was a parody, but no, it's just Poe's Law in action apparently. So let's end this video. I know it's long. Well, you guys know me. If you know me, you know I can't be succinct. We'll end this on the more famous video, Sex Junk. Oh boy, what a promising title.
This one goes out to all the bipeds who identify as ladies!
Bipeds who identify as ladies. Kill me now. Hayden, you can stop. You can stop right here. You can just stop and walk away. You can walk away now. No internal monologue. I must do it. I must do it for the people.
This world of ours is full of choice, but must I choose between only John or Joyce? All my options only hard or moist.
Oh god, this is maximum cringe. Where do I start? Okay, so first we have Unsexy Gozer, who walks out here essentially saying sexuality is a choice. Well, good to know we've finally come full circle on that one. By the way, where are Zool and the Keymaster?
My vagina has its own voice, not vocal cords, a metaphorical voice. Sometimes I do a voice for my vagina. Please don't tell me I'm the only one who does that.
Yo, no, you're definitely the only one who does that. Yep, it's just you.
Cause my sex junk is so much more than either
Okay, well you're rhyming O with or. You know, regardless of the content of this song itself, it is unbelievably awful from an objective standpoint. I mean, did you even try? Did you even try?
They didn't even try!
Power bottom or a top off. Versatile love may have some butt stuff. It's evolution, ain't nothing new.
Whoa, laddie, hang on there. Did you just say that butt sex is evolutionary? I feel this woman needs like a 1993 Bill Nye era explanation of how reproduction works, and how those who don't reproduce by putting the dipstick in the wrong hole, well, they don't pass on their genes. Inherently, butt sex excludes evolution.
There's nothing taboo about a sex stew. Just add salt or Gerard Depardieu. French treasure.
Did you just have nothing to rhyme here, or am I missing something about this Depardieu reference? Am I? I'm confused.
If they're alive, I'll date them. Channing or Janet Tatum.
Oh, if they're alive, I'll date them. So, you're a slut with no standards. Is this like that Riley Dennis thing, where if you wouldn't date someone with a cock, you're a bigot? That's what this type of shit is, isn't it? I'm sorry, fam. You don't get to dictate to me what I find physically attractive. If I like ladies, or if I like tall, older men, who are you to tell me that I better be eating the minge, or I'm wrong thinking? Am I incorrect, or is that actually what's being implied here? I think it is.
I'm down for anything. Don't box in my box. Give someone new a handy, then give yourself props.
Okay. Oh, so she's just a whore. As I thought. Nothing wrong with that, I guess. You do you, boo, but is this supposed to be a prescriptive for the rest of us? I mean, why else would you be putting this embarrassing little shit show on, if not to suggest a normal behavior? Oh, and I think we're about to get there.
Oh, you think you're so smart. Did you learn gay in college?
She probably did.
Here with all of that while I drop some knowledge. Sexuality's a spectrum, everyone is on it. Even you might like it if you sit up on it. Drag queen, drag king, just do what feels right. You're tall, pansexual, flirty woods, right?
Okay, so be whatever you want, yada yada. I actually agree. I'm a libertarian and cap type, as you who watch me know. So as long as you do it in your own bedroom and you don't violate my NAP, so I have to, you know, obviously recreationally nuke you, I don't give a shit about what you do. But do you really have to push this extreme, stupid, flirty wood spirit sprite shit? Ugh. I mean, I guess I don't care. After all, I'm the one choosing to subjugate myself to this nightmare.
Who enjoys a fleshlight in the cold moonlight?
With a sad clown? Skyping via satellite?
Damn Skippy home slice, sing it with me all night.
And that right there, friends, is the most out-of-touch line I think I have ever heard. Damn Skippy home slice. Well, I'm stunned.
What's up, homies? Fill me in on the 411. Chill.
That's how you want, it's your goddamn right!
Bill looking like he about to bust a nut over this degeneracy.
Get off your soapbox! Get off your soapbox!
Oh gods, the irony. Get off your soapbox. Has anyone really been far even has decided to use, even go to do, to look more like in terms of pure, unbridled, and complete lack of self-awareness. I mean, I am at a loss for words. It truly is Poe's Law. She is on a soapbox telling the rest of us to get off her soapbox. I mean, I'm about to tap out. I can't take this shit. Oh, God.
My sex drunk's better than bagels with lox. With lots of schmear.
Wow, that was the Jewiest lyric I've ever heard. Wait a second, who was behind this show anyway? Oi, they shut it down! Well, that's all I've got. Reality makes me want to be dead. You know, I've shit a lot on Bill today, but I honestly did like him as a kid. As I said, he wasn't my reason for being interested in science, but I did learn some of the rudimentary basics of science from him, and to see him involved in this, well, it's disheartening to say the least. Maybe it's money, maybe it's just virtue signaling, but this show is absolutely horrific. These two clips are on the Sexuality as a Spectrum episode, a concept that, again, in theory, I've said I agree with. But you have to understand, friends, there are 13 more episodes of this. Well, 12, technically. Some are more cringy and less scientific than others, but there's 12 more episodes. So hey, if people want to see me suffer more, leave a comment on this web zone and I will sacrifice my sanity to the altar of your entertainment and cover at least the episode on fat acceptance because, woo lads, it's a doozy. Well, with that, I hope you feel just as dead inside as I do. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe. I'm Aiden Paladin, Alt on a Volt.